Hello guys and welcome to today's show. My name is Shegun and I'm speaking for Teptv. Today we're going to be looking at a very unique topic, and it says, can Nigeria ever truly prosecute corruption? Of course, we've had several governments like this one saying that, they would prosecute corruption, they will fight injustice, they will root out corruption, I assure you, and all of the different statements we have had over the years. But in this video, we're going to really deep down into it. Can Nigeria ever truly prosecute corruption? One of the biggest issues that faces the most of the African countries that we have around the world, and Nigeria in particular, is corruption. It has become wired to our framework that virtually all sectors are involved in corruption. Religious institutions have seen clergy caught taking bribes, whether for positions within the ministry or from politicians during campaigns. Like fake clergies, all those different nonsense stuffs. So take the case of the fake bishops, that appeared during the build-up to the 2023 general elections, for example, and you will discover the mess that we are in. Today, we want to speak about the corruption situation in Nigeria and if it would ever stop. If you like this video, if you like what we do, please kindly share, like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so that you know when we release new videos. Alright, back to the video. Now, let's start from somewhere close to the beginning. Of course, you can't really know the beginning of corruption, but somewhere close to the beginning. And what is the cause of corruption in Nigeria? Corruption is caused by many things. There are several things that causes corruption. Here, there, now, here, this, that, and everything. But we just want to identify what are the three categories or the possible categories that we can put all about these different things that causes corruption into. And in this video, we're going to talk about three different categories that we have discovered. This is our own category, or what we discovered from our own personal research. You can also leave yours in the comment section below. Number one is lack of patriotism. Number two is poverty. And number three is lack of consequences for wrong behavior. Now, well, of course, like I said, there are many reasons. We'll just focus on these three in this video. First, let's look at the patriotism or the lack of patriotism in Nigeria. Since the time of the colonial masters, Africa has shown their fantastic ability to sell out their own brothers for the sake of wealth. From before the colonial masters, it was recorded at different times people had offered up loved ones to be sacrificed. You watch several home videos where they are ready to sacrifice their daughter, their brother, for the sake of making wealth. As funny as it may sound, that actually rings a bell of possibly the ingrained wicked nature that some humans just tend to have. Of course, that's before the colonial masters. Now, when the colonial masters came and they were ready to allow, don't offer them as rituals, don't kill them, why not sell them to us as slaves? Africans were, at least there will be no blood on my hands, so I could just go ahead and sell out my brother, sell out my sister, and make some dough, even if in some cases what we're giving were mirrors. So when the Europeans, the Americans came for us, we did not need much convincing, since it's all we're doing anyways. And then the lack of patriotism to even our own family and kindred showed why Nigerians would do things like get loans and grants from the United Nations and spend them on buying Japanese Toyota cars instead of fixing the country. You know what I'm talking about, right? Alright, so the second reason is poverty. So now we have talked about those who have access to power. Why not talk about those who don't even have anything at all? So the second reason why the corruption is so endemic is because of poverty. And I've seen several videos from many YouTubers who tend to say that the politicians in Africa, specifically in Nigeria, have perfected the art of weaponizing poverty. A practical example is when you look at the elections, whenever the election cycles come in, you see bags of money flowing in. It was recorded that in the last general election, there were some persons in somewhere in Lagos, Ikorodu to be specific, they were protesting after the election. And we were wondering, why were these women protesting? They said they were protesting because they voted on credit. For crying out loud. How do you vote 4 years of your life on credit? Some persons in some other parts of Lagos, and we're talking about Lagos, so let's not even go into the deeper places like maybe where I come from in Ekiti State, or maybe where somebody comes from in Abia State, or where somebody else comes from in Borno State, where you wonder if they're actually holding elections. So when we look at this, we discover that there is a serious problem. Poverty has made persons to sell their souls for the sake of cheap change. Of course, just a few weeks ago, a professor was sentenced to 3 years in prison for falsifying results during the 2019 elections. Of course, also, some few days ago, a former head of state, who I will not mention but you already know, had the courage and the audacity to say that a whole election was cancelled and the people around him were clapping for him. Of course, I don't want to say they are poor, but you understand where I'm going to, so you can fill in the missing gaps by yourself. So how would you be clapping for daylight robbery? So we discovered that the poverty has made money moving hands from here to there become parts and parcel, and we see it as normal thing. You go, for example, to try and bid for a job in this part of the world, and you're looking at how you can, the secretary is expecting that you factor him into the budget that you are submitting to his company. In the case where you are bidding for, let's say, a 10 million naira contract, you possibly have spent like 4 to 5 million naira settling the gate man, settling the receptionist, settling the secretary, settling the PA, and even settling the boss who gave you the contract himself. So you discover that all these things have wired into why we say poverty. Poverty does not necessarily mean when people are poor or the lack of money. Poverty could even come to the terms of poor mentality, where some persons feel that this is the fastest way of getting rich and they want to get rich as fast as possible. Another example is when you're trying to also, you are trying to sign out from the university or from the higher institution, and then you are going about doing all this clearance. You get to some places, I won't mention the case of my school, but I'll mention my school, which you can go and figure out later. And I remember that back then we were trying to do a clearance. There was this woman that was attending to us for a particular clearance that I will not mention. And at the end of everything you do, she will ask you, "Owo multi-minko?" You must drop, whether it's 200 naira, 500 naira, 1000 naira back in the days. And even when you told her that, "Ma, I don't have cash," she will bring out POS machine for you and tell you to put your ATM card. That was how prepared she was. So, poverty, that's the second problem. The third and the final problem that we want to look at, or final reason why what I want to look at in this video, is the lack of consequences. So we spoke about several examples, and I spoke about the fact that some days ago an head of state just made a very big statement that a whole general elections where people sweat, the country spent money, was cancelled because it felt like it. And the person who was supposed to have won the election, who would have been the president of this country, died in prison. His wife also died afterwards. And then you discover that because there are no consequences for bad behavior, people continue doing it. Of course, you go to almost any place now and you discover that somebody is caught in a corrupt deed, and possibly all he is done is he is cautioned, he is warned, he is strongly spoken to. That's even in the case where they are even more modest. In some cases, all the boss just does is call him to the office and ask him, "Where is my share?" So because there are no consequences for bad behavior, people discover that if I can steal 10 naira and nobody complains, then possibly all I need to do is steal 1000 naira and get better and better in it. Now we'll come back to the case of the current situation of the country, we discover that the reason why we have politicians who would rather serve their bellies than serve the people is simply because the people have been bought with a price, and that price is 800 naira. Thank you very much for sticking with us during this video. If you like what we do, please give a thumbs up to this video. You can drop your comments. Of course, in the comment section. Just tell us the different reasons why you think corruption cannot stop in Nigeria. We would love to hear those wonderful reasons you have in the comment section below. My name remains Shegun, speaking for Teptv. Bye for now.